Symmetry, when it comes to values, it's a matter of, what you believe in, what you think is important. But for us, it's how you show up every single day of your life, and being of service is an attitude as much as it is a value for us.
For involvement of a company like Symmetry to get multiple employees and people across the country involved from the different branches that you guys have, it's huge. We have a lot of local support, and it's a lot of individuals that participate, so we don't get a ton of big team participation. So when you have an entire group that's coming together, they're able to pool the resources and they're able to fundraise way more than they would be able to if they were doing it by themselves.
2 years of doing this event, you guys have raised $350,000.
The average cost of a wish for us is about $6,000. So the funds that you guys are raising is making a huge difference to local kids here in our market.
And I think just over the last couple of years, our group's raised over $10,000 just in our little small group for Make-A-Wish Foundation.
So Make-A-Wish, I went to Disney, chose the basic Make-A-Wish.
We're gonna grant her wish right now. We have all of your film editing equipment here. We have all of your stuff, bring it on out. Your wish is happening in this very moment.
And the company does an amazing job helping out, people to grant wishes, and it's non-stop. I don't know any other company that's even close to this level of giving, but it makes sense when you get a chance to kind of step into the company culture and realize that that's what this is about. I mean, this is really about impact at the end of the day.
It really is humbling the fact that you all choose us to be your partners, because we really look at you all as our partners in our mission. I mean, the funds you've raised just in the last 2 years is mind-blowing. This does not happen every day.
And I start off every Wednesday either crying or laughing. Or both.
Or both.
Dang it, Lindsay.
I know. She's they're doing an amazing job over there.
Yep.
Oh man, welcome everybody to our Wednesday call. We've already had a great call today. We're going to have an even greater call right now. We huddled up with all the agency owners earlier, and man, we got a good one on tap today. Casey and I will be communicating, talking with, interviewing, being interviewed by potentially with Mr. Brian Williamson. So Brian, you can kind of unmute and let them see that pretty head of yours.
Thank you, guys. Great to be with you. Coffee is on tap. I'm ready to rock.
Casey, you got your coffee?
No coffee today, but I got my jug of water. Complete with motivational quotes.
Well, I need that. Hang on. Let's put that back on the screen. What do you call that? If somebody wants that, because that's how you manage how much water you're getting.
And I definitely have upped my water intake, which I've been reading a lot on like what a gallon of water a day does for you.
What does it do?
I don't know. I can't remember, but it's all good stuff.
I've got one of those too. That thing has worked out really well, and it definitely incentivizes you to be ahead of the game and not be like 8 o'clock at night and you're at 4 o'clock and then you're in big trouble.
Yeah,
exactly. Versus just like a small receptacle where you got to keep going back to the water tap to fill it up, and you may just get sidetracked and not do it. This, you got to kill it.
All right. So what's the name of it? So everybody can hop on Amazon and buy them one.
This one I think is called Venture Pal.
Venture Pal, like P-A-L?
P-A-L, Venture Pal, maybe.
That sounds like
a gallon water receptacle. This is not a gallon. This is like a half gallon, but I try to drink at least one a day.
So that's probably, what is a half gallon? 128 ounces? Is that what a gallon is?
Probably.
I think that's.
I think it's like 3,700 milliliters, if that helps.
Oh, you're going with milliliters now.
Yeah, man. We're on the metric system over here.
I like that. I like that. Venture pal. Casey, that sounds like you. You're a venture pal.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah.
You're all about the adventure. Anyway, enough shenanigans from us, Brian. What's going on up in Michigan right now?
Back at you, man. Well, what's going on in Michigan? Cloudy day. We're starting to get some frozenness, not like my friends back in Wisconsin that are getting buried in snow. Had a great night. We took my son, drove over to the University of Michigan and took him out to dinner. That's so fun that he's local and we get to see him every now and then. So got to visit Ann Arbor's campus. They're getting ravaged right now by COVID, but making the adjustments they need to.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. Yeah, for all the kids in school right now, it's kind of a challenge. So shout out to all the moms who are homeschooling and doing all the work that you do. And I know it's a challenge right now, but it's been fun to see people thrive through that. And yeah, we're good. We're good.
Well, aside from COVID, I assume that your son's probably getting pretty excited that at least football season starts for them this week, right?
He is, although I don't know what team's going to walk out on the field. Everybody's tapped out for the NFL, but we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be fun to see that. See that happen.
Well, welcome Big Ten. We've been waiting on you. Now football can officially begin. We got a lot of good stuff to cover for us, Brian. I'm going to come back to you. Let me hit some leaderboards and announcements. Almost instead of clicking the button for share screen, hit leave. That would have not been good, but I think I'm doing better now. All right. Well, let's see here. Which one of these do I want to go over? I think it's this one. No, maybe this one. No, not that one. I didn't realize I had so many PowerPoints open. Did you? Boom.
There you go.
What I'm looking for. All right. Pope is not on with us today. Neither is, I think Spivey might be on with us for a little while. They're at a Foresters virtual event at Fenway Park. So probably not quite as good as going to Fenway. Maybe second.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know. We get to go on a special tour behind the scenes and into the locker room. So it's going to be pretty special with our friends with Foresters.
That's going to be really good. All right. Let me minimize this so I can see. First time riders for the week.
Which we had a bunch of, Brandon.
We do have a bunch of them.
For new riders. I think it was close to 80.
Taisha Cleckley, Harry Zipkin, and Vincent Carnes, $7,871 your first week out. Congratulations, Vincent. Do you think he goes by Vinny?
I hope so. I like it.
He will from now on. All right. Top 10 producers for the week. Nikki Sirocco, Sean Hogue, Michelle Brock with $19,201. Well done. How would you pronounce fourth place there, Casey?
Rudy Rugas.
You think it's a silent Y? Uragus. We're going to have to get clarification. I think we'll stick with Rudy for now. Well done. Matthew, Elliott, and Monique with 27 applications. Unbelievable. Brian Broyles, Ruth Slingo. Good job on the Med Sup board. On the critical illness board, our top three would be Gina, Jamie, and Diane Newman, number one, 2,600. Not bad. Disability income, here we go. Reneka, Elliot Freer, Sean Bailey. Well done. That's a good 4 applications from Elliot Freer there, but Sean Bailey, number one. You're only going to do one. Do a good one. You did. IUL producers for the week, Dave Kushner, Teresa Heckler, and Sukarita Seth. 4 applications for almost $13,000. Top annuity producers, Winifred, Martin, and number one is Larry Pierce, $210,000 in premium. DFL on the boards, Eric and Julie, Darren Lee Thrasher. You know a Thrasher, don't you, Casey? Maybe it's just George White, number one, $25,952. Way to go, George White. Blanco. Recruits for the week in the base shop, Cook continues to kill it. Dana Elson, Jacob Pogue also on the board. Direct recruits for the week, Kevin Purdy, Jacob Pogue, and Miranda Martin sitting on top. Well done, Miranda. New writers for the week. Look at Jacob Pogue up there. 12 new writers in the direct. Man, good job, Colburns. Good job, Purdy. You guys are killing it. Zachary Little, number 1 on the base shop board there. Here's our key leaders for the week. The DJ himself with 24,466. Michelle Brock, 25,600. And Steven Jackson, $26,094. Well done. AOs. Ryan Federico with 39,000. Jeremy Whitaker with 42,000. And Martin Ado just snuck past you, Jeremy Whitaker. Well done, Mark. Base shop, Christopher Menifee, Christopher Cook, and Melissa Weagle. Man, it's tight. These leaderboards are tight today. Well done, Melissa. Chris Cook, you got a football game going on this week too, just as a reminder. Agency directors, Sarah Bailey, good week. Griff Martin. Look at LG. $95,000 in production for Larry and Ann. Rad and Beyond. Lynn in 3rd place. Edward Pritchett, $760. Marshall Whalen, $826,000. Marshall's got a big event this week. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, virtual conference. If you haven't registered for Marshall, if you're part of the Whalen team and you haven't registered for that conference yet, what are you waiting on? Get it in. Get it going. And last but not least, our directs, Kashawn Monteith, Jacob Pogue, and Kevin Purdy, $267,000. Well done, KP. All right, Casey, Xeron time. These leaderboards are really starting to creep up. First week that George and Janet have fallen out of the top 3. You guys are gonna have to pick it up if you want a Xeron. Bridget's still in there. Nick and Patty are still in there. Alec Myers with almost $12,000 so far. All you need is 8,000 more the rest of the year. I want to say it's 20,000, could be 25,000. I should have verified last week when I didn't know, but I forgot. I'll verify again. Actually, somebody listening in, verify that for me so I don't forget to verify. Look, Casey, this is the part that you love, right? Here's all the promotions.
Yes.
Top producers. Got Jeffrey Miller, Christopher Michael, Carlos Samaniego, Cameron Henderson, James Satterfield. Used to be the lead singer for Metallica. Team leaders, Stella Dinwiddie, Mary Strader, getting an echo from someone, Shane Jeremio, Elliot Shorey, Chaz Eckert, and Bo Hirschfield. Couple of new key leaders, John Reiner, part of the Pfeiffer team, Kim Bogdan, part of the Jimenez team. Well done, guys. Look at all these agency owners.
Boom.
Boom. Kelly Kushner, part of the Kushner hierarchy, as you might imagine. Jeffrey Rock, part of Nadeau. Alicia Bergfeld on the Blackman team. Klaus Luta, great name, part of Sean Shannon's team. Matt Divert, part of the Shinovar crew. Linda Chung, part of the Carlson team. And Steven Jackson, part of the Ondrick team. Casey, what advice do you have for all of our new agency owners?
Enjoy it, I would say first. Be present today. You've been announced as agency owners. You should be celebrating. And then tomorrow, the work begins. And the work is create more agency owners. Serve people like we talked about on our last agency owners call. But today, let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate. If you guys have these guys contacts, whatever, let's blow them up with text. And because it's, it's hard when you're comparing yourself in this company. Sometimes we always try, we're all competitive and we do that, but it can get in your head a little bit if you're always comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing. And you see some of these leaderboards with people doing, $50,000 in a day in their agency. But, industry wide, Brandon, the last company, the company I started with, if you could do 50,000 in a month of submitted volume, you had a statue out front of yourself. It is not normal in the industry to have as many agency owners as this company has. And keep in mind, if you're on the phone and you're not an agency owner and you're striving to get there, we're promoting on average about one every single week. We do generally about 4 to 5 a month. New agency owners, new kind of like, if you're new with it, it's like a franchisee basically. And these are, everyone on this screen right here, Brandon, is 50,000 a month of submitted volume at a minimum. And so that's going to translate into about 50,000 a year of passive income, you know, within 10% of that. But it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. But generally what you submit in a month is what you gross revenue in a year. So, and it's hard to pinpoint that because most people are going from 50 to 60 to 80 to 100 to, you know, they're moving up through the months. But man, welcome to the team, guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, very well said. Congratulations, everybody. Hard work is about to be upon you, and it is going to be well worth it.
Yep.
But celebrate today. They've probably already celebrated. Oh,
yep.
Here we go. Let me go back to here. That means we got some new agency directors too. Congratulations, Eric Ondrick, Esther Carlson. Congratulations, Bradley Shinovar and Mark Nadeau and Penny Blackman. Well done, everybody. Got one new rad, Dave Kushner. I thought Dave was always rad.
Yeah, I did
well
too.
Done. Look at Stubbs, man. Stubbs, the MVP.
Awesome.
Somebody sent me a text. It was Jacob Pogue. You'll be glad to hear. Stubbs sent me a text yesterday bragging on you, man. Said you did a conference call for him and like absolutely knocked it out of the water. That's what I love to hear. A couple of executive vice presidents, Miranda Martin, Sean Shannon. Good job, guys. Got a couple of upcoming events. As you know, we've got our sales training webinar on October 22nd, tomorrow, 11 o'clock, Understanding the Evolution of Your Company with my good buddy, Mr. Todd Spivey. Back at it on Monday with our sales training call. We got Dan Miller and Joanne Castellano, Cameron Henderson. One lead can change everything. I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Exactly right. We have a call next Thursday, the Connect call. More details to come. We got our next DFL virtual boot camp, as you can see, on the November 9th and 10th. And then we got a big one with November the 18th, National Philanthropy Day, Symmetry's virtual impact event. We got some exciting stuff going on with it. We're also obviously going to be supporting the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So really looking forward to everybody showing up on that one and helping us raise some significant money and making a big impact. And I think we'll come back on that, right, Whit? We've got a little more information on that here in just a second.
Okay.
Don't forget also, we're in the throes of the direct blitz. We'll be getting some leaderboards out on that soon. Now we're over to you, Whitney.
There we go. All right. I'm a little confused as to where to look. I'm in Doug's office and there's like 3 webcams in here. So
just look at all of them.
All right.
It'd be like you're on the news and you have to turn this way.
Yeah.
It's really awkward. All right, so as you all know, we would be gearing up for our Symmetry Challenge right about now. And though we are sad we will not all be together this fall, we are quite excited about our first virtual impact event. We are going to be raising money and awareness, just like we would for Symmetry Challenge, for Make-A-Wish, November 18th. It will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a pretty amazing silent and live auction. Details are already up on the event page, so you can start to look around at items that you might be interested in. We'll have the silent auction will go live a few days before the actual event, so you can start bidding. And then we'll have the live auction items, some of our bigger items, available on November 18th. So outside of this being an event that is an auction, we also have some fun things up our sleeves, some surprises for you guys. So you're definitely going to want to tune in to see some of those fun things we've got lined up for you guys. It's some entertainment is what I will say. You guys agree it's entertaining what we're going to be providing for them?
It's definitely entertaining.
We'll see about that. Hey, and I will, Whitney, I will just say, y'all did a very good job on the live auction and the silent auction items. Brandon and I, when we saw that list of items, every one of them, we were like, oh man, I'm definitely
All
doing
of it.
Yeah.
Y'all killed it on those.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good auction. I think y'all are going to be
Yeah.
pretty fired up about it. And you can register. So there'll be information in the newsletters, on social media. So you can find registration on there. So y'all get registered and get fired up. And let's just raise a bunch of money for Make-A-Wish.
Yes. Let's raise a bunch of money. I mean, I know that there have not been a ton of opportunities, at least from our organization, to kind of pull together and make some serious donations. So hopefully all the agents and agency owners can pony up a little bit to really make this a special night for Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
Good job, Whit.
Thank you.
Yep. Put it in your calendars, guys. Look here, over 1 million donated in the last 3 years. Which of these events was your favorite, Casey? Looks like we got a couple of habitats. That looks like we might that might be a dodgeball tournament.
Well, I mean, as far as work days,
Puerto Rico.
My top 2 favorite work days that we've had as far as impact events were probably the beach cleanup that you see on the left. We were in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, and then last year's dodgeball tournament was epic.
Yeah, it was. Watching some of those videos again, man. That was great.
But all of them have very fond memories in my mind.
The Costa Rica day was also great. The second that was an amazing one. And then just to see how good some of our agents and AOs were at soccer.
Oh, Sean Shannon out there just
I know.
Kyle Kimbrell, I recall out there, Roddy, bunch of guys.
They were trying to hang in there tight with the high school kids from.
I don't want to be out there, that's for sure.
No, I was just fine in the stands. just like during dodgeball, it was just fine officiating.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Phil. It's a great quote from you. Make a difference in your client's life by taking full advantage of everything Symmetry makes available to you. That's engagement. Do not try to recreate the wheel. Plug into the system, work hard, and you'll build a lasting legacy of financial freedom that will impact your family for generations. I love it, man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I got a text the other day from your upline, Sarah Pappas, who rumor has it has a birthday today.
There is that rumor floating around. Yes.
So all of you that have Sarah's contact info, if you're a birthday celebrator, send her some love and warm wishes. She would love to get a text from you. She sent me a photo first off, Phil, and I couldn't read it. And then I clicked on it and it kind of blew up there. She sent me your snapshot report. And your snapshot was that you submitted $80,000 for the month for your group, and you placed $86,000 for the month with 107% issue rate. Listen, I mean, 100% is good, but you went to 107%. Man, what advice would you have for people out there? Because I think one of the frustrating things that can happen in this business, especially if you're a new agent or if you're going through a little bit of a rocky spot, is you feel like you're doing all the right things. You feel like you're putting a lot of the work in, and you're putting a lot of the emotional, you're expelling a lot of emotional energy, and you're doing a lot of the hard work by investing in leads, right? And then you're calling them and you're getting told no a lot. Then you're showing up on appointments and you hope that you close, enough of them to have a really good week. And then maybe you're brand new and you're not good enough and you write the wrong product, or you didn't do something right in the home and it falls off the books. And so there's this feeling that you're doing everything, but it's not paying off. I think you could give them some great advice on what are some of the most important things that you can do to make sure that all that hard work is going to pay off and that those clients are going to get protected.
Well, Brandon, I appreciate the opportunity. We're just thrilled to be here, be able to be a part of this company and different things that are happening. The atmosphere and the culture that you guys have created here is just absolutely unbelievable. Phil Robertson, direct to Jacob Peterson and Sarah Pappas, a part of this amazing organization. And listen, to be perfectly honest with you, I would like to say that I was shocked when those numbers came out, but we had really worked hard. I was up for a promotion to my next level, and of course it had to be what it was. And Danny Young always says, what we focus on grows, and so forth. So we had really put a lot of work and a lot of effort in that last 2 or 3 weeks of that month to making sure that all of those numbers were there where they were supposed to be. And we had tracked that on a weekly basis, and just, it all goes back, I think, to you mentioned the word in the beginning of this is the engagement. We are very, very proactive in engaging our folks to make sure they are doing the right product, that they're having the right conversations with the client, that they're following through to the whole process of what needs to be done. And it's just, this is, you can't just take away the human element of our business. You can't systematize everything. We have an amazing system, but you can't take away the human element. That has to be the conversations that have to occur between myself and my leaders, and then those people and their direct agents that are in the field. It goes back to, taking that contract and getting that person from a contract status to the first-time writer status, and then from the first-time writer status to a true bona fide team member where they're a part of what's going on. It's just a complete overall approach that we take to things, to just making sure that everybody is engaged and they're having good conversation, they're learning the right products, and they're following up with the business. The first half hour to hour of my morning every single day that I rise up is on the carrier's websites, and I send out texts every morning to my leaders to, what's the status of this, what's the status of that, and I'm personally engaged in that myself. We were actually disappointed that we only submitted 80,000, because that was down about 30% from where we had been. But then we saw the issued numbers come to be what they were, and it was quite an amazing thing to see that. But nothing happened. The first conference I went to at Symmetry was John Maxwell. And when he walked out on the stage and held his hand up, and everything in life worth having is uphill. It's the uphill habits, it's the intention of doing those things, and we're very, 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 very intentional about that process. One of my mentors in this crazy industry that we're in is a guy named Art Williams, that many of you are familiar with. I was at that company for many years prior to coming to
Really,
Symmetry.
I didn't know that, Phil.
Oh yeah, that was my start, and have literally sat at Art's feet and listened to him. I had the opportunity to do that, and he always had a saying. He said, we need to understand that everybody wears a sign around their neck that basically says, make me feel special. And if we do that, and we find a way to engage that and involve people in that process, then all of these numbers just kind of come as a result of people feeling like they're engaged and they're a part of something that's bigger and more special than themselves. And I think we do a fairly good job of making sure that happens in people's lives as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's and I think you're doing a great job of kind of setting that standard by being the example to your team that, you can't hit a home run if you can't get past second base, right?
Exactly.
So,
that's exactly right.
You got to do all of the work to get the rewards. You don't do half of the work or 3/4 of the work. You got to go all in, and it's a business of impact, and we don't get paid until you make an impact.
That's
and
right.
You don't make an impact by taking a nap.
That's right. That's right. And of course, this can't happen without some amazing leaders on your team. I mean, none of this happens as a result of one person's effort. And we've got some amazing folks on our team that are very coachable, that are very plugged in and in tune to the system. And it is a process. It's building is not easy. It's easy to go out and write insurance and do those things, but building is not easy. And there's a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of hard things that go into that process. But that's the amazing part about our systems. We just follow that process, then we get the results to come out on the back end of that.
I love it, Phil. It's great to have you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Williamson. That was really good stuff.
That was, and what a great way to tee up engagement and what that means for the business, why it's important, and how to get it.
Yep. Brian, there are a lot of people on this call that have not had a chance, I think, to meet you in person or to obviously to work with you. You've been working with Symmetry for 2 years at least.
Yeah, more than that.
And we've seen a huge impact that you've made on a lot of the agency owners that you work with, that have had the opportunity to work with you, kind of understanding their voice order, understanding what it's like being on the other side of them. One of the most important things I think that you can have and is that understanding about yourself, right? Know yourself to lead yourself. You've got a new venture going on, and I'd love for you to kind of talk about that before we get into what the next 90 days is going to look like.
Yeah, thank you for that. It has been quite some time since I met y'all in the lobby in North Carolina at the hotel. And gosh, that was
3 years.
I think that was like 3 years ago for sure. Yeah, and just evolving with you, right? Every organization goes through evolution and revolution, and being a part of that at the micro level in different agencies, but also at the macro level with Symmetry as a whole. So yeah, as Symmetry has evolved, Giant's evolved, and my role has evolved, both with Giant and in our new company called Pruvio. And really in Pruvio, our heart and passion is really to drive engagement from the inside out and really surface for people what are those hidden drivers, hidden forces inside of us that bring our best work. So if you think about an example of nuclear fusion, understanding your 5 voices, your best fit, and combining that with motivation and really like what activates a person, it's kind of a good pairing that way. It creates a lot of energy, a lot of focus, and really wanting people to be successful and be able to repeat that success. So we just help people understand with more specificity, what's your recurring pattern of success and how can you leverage that to drive business results. So that's been the fun in my new world. And then just starting to ping pong that with you guys and find out that you're having conversations too about engagement, right? How do we really bring the best? Every business result that we want is on the other side of us being fully alive and fully engaged. And so starting those conversations with you guys has been really rewarding and exciting. And I think today will be another step in that direction.
Absolutely, man. Let's get right into it. You've got, so I called you a month ago and I said, hey, I feel like there's a little bit of a missing component. We've got a big blitz coming up. And, it's going to be all about numbers and production and how we're going to grow that piece of the business. But as we all know, in order to grow the business, we got to work on ourselves more, right? We got to grow ourselves. And so was thrilled that I kind of caught you at the right time. Like you're now the CEO of a new company. It's a startup company, but you had 20, 25 hours a month to give us, to help us accomplish this. There's 3 things that we're really wanting to focus on over the next 90 days. What are those 3 things, Brian? And do you want to start your PowerPoint, or do we want to kind of talk about the overall 90 days kind of first?
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. Let's give an overall sketch of the 90 days because we're really introducing things that are very important at a DNA level in Symmetry. And as a whole, these aren't brand new things, but these are really 3 areas that we want to amplify, turn up the volume on. And those 3 areas, which one of them we're going to dive a little bit deeper into today, but one of them is purpose, right? We're not going to talk about that today, in part because purpose flows out of really engagement. And the more we get engaged, the more we understand our hidden forces inside of us that really bring that engagement. Purpose is really a part of that picture. So that'll be probably the last thing we hit on. But we're also going to talk about having really, really healthy, fierce conversations. That's the second component. So how do we have radical candor conversations in a way that brings transformation? And I think I'd put a pin right in this thought right here, is that sometimes when we say that, it even sounds harsh, right? Like, Casey, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I got to have a radical candor conversation with you, or I want to have a fierce conversation, right? Yeah, you do that. And honestly, all it is about serving the person in front of you to help them do what they said they wanted to do, right? We're not forcing something new on somebody. We're not trying to get up in their grill in any kind of unhealthy way. We're trying to serve them and accelerate them getting ahead. But part of that is sometimes we need the mirror held up and the mirror shows that we've got broccoli in our teeth. And we want to just show that mirror and say, hey, let's get that broccoli out of there. So I love talking about that. Those on the call that I've worked with will know I've got a 5-step process for how do you have those fierce conversations that makes it really simple. And I bet we'll have that conversation here at some point. But that's the second area. And the third area is just what we're going to introduce today about engagement. How do we really, what does it look like to be fully engaged as an agent? And how do you get that? So
I love it.
The thumbnail, yeah.
As you're pulling it up, Brian, for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet him yet, I know we talked a little bit about your background, but give me some history there. Give me some details and like, how do you know all of this stuff? Why should they listen and trust you in what we're going to be laying out over the next 90 days plus? Hopefully, it's going to go much beyond 90 days. But
because Brandon and Casey say so.
Which was not easy.
No. Well, because we still don't roll like that. Yeah, for me, I would say like leadership development found me, leadership coaching found me. I didn't even know it was a thing. I grew up in New Jersey, outside of New York City, loved my Italian extended family there, but left when I was 20 for the Marine Corps. So I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. Right up there on my shelf, you see the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. That's the highest medal you can get in a peacetime for leadership. I was shocked, like on my way out, they're like, hey, here's this leadership award. I'm like, oh, cool. I wasn't really thinking about leadership then too much intentionally. Had a pretty long career in the nonprofit space, 20 plus years leading in roles from founder to senior director of larger nonprofits. And it was really during that time that I met Steve Cockram, and we began working together in coaching and consulting for leaders. And I just grew a real passion for that. Decided to go back to school, knock out a PhD in leadership, because that's an important driver for me, is to be able to be competent in what I'm doing and present solutions that really, it's gotta have some science root to it. I like to make it real practical, but I need to know that it's predictive, it's powerful, it's helpful. So I wanted to do that. And then sure, in Giant, got to be part of Giant since the beginning of the organization, and was the top producer in Giant for probably 5 or 6 years, and had a great business experience there. Still great relationship, still work with Giant, but excited to kind of evolve here. And I think for Symmetry, I've been able over the last 3 years to pick up some good domain knowledge, right? Some good in the trenches. How does this thing work? What are we about here? So I very much, you hear me talk about we and us, because I very much feel that way, and have been welcomed in that way. So I guess that gives you a little snapshot of some tangible reasons to tune in. I really enjoy learning from you guys as well. So y'all know that.
I was hoping that you would say it. I'm really glad that you did. Anybody that has a PhD in leadership is somebody that we all need to be paying attention to and listening to. So, man, thrilled to have you, buddy. And really looking forward to the next 90 days. So let's start the next 90 days right now, shall we?
Sounds great. Let's go. We're on the clock here. Where's the NFL music?
That's right.
All right. So really, we're going to have a conversation today, a conversation that Brandon, Casey, Meredith, and others, we've started. And we're going to have a conversation together with you on the call about 3 things that fully engaged agents have. And the implication of that is if we're not fully engaged, then we're missing these things, right? So we want to just give you some clues and some indicators of, if you want to be fully engaged and fully alive, fully active in your business, getting the results that you are in your heart, right? Those things are locked up in there sometimes. How do we unlock that potential? How do you actually get those things? So we're going to have this conversation. It's going to be really practical. And this isn't just made up. This isn't like the next 3 things fully engaged agents have. This comes out of research, both the science and in Symmetry, just in terms of listening to people and being able to kind of pull these together for us as an organization to be able to implement and really talk about. So I want to do this first, and I'm going to ask Brandon, Casey, I think Meredith is available too, maybe Todd for a little bit here, just to interact with me on these introductory thoughts here. So I'm putting up a pair of words, and all of you that can see this, I'll tell you what the words are if you're not seeing the screen. The words are overcommitted and underutilized. And I want you to take a minute, just as you see those words and you feel those words, I want you just to think about what comes to mind for you personally, when you see those words and feel those words? Overcommitted, underutilized. So, Brandon, let me ask you first. Think of a time in your life when you were overcommitted. What was that like for you? Just too many things on the plate, whatever it was, too many yeses. What was that like?
Exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. You know, it messes with everything, right? Messes with your sleep, messes with your emotional well-being. You can't stay on top of anything. And so you feel like you're constantly juggling and not really accomplishing anything. We always have a saying, it's like being a one-legged duck, right? You just kind of swimming in circles.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. How about for you, Casey, on that one? Overcommitted. What does that trigger for you?
My worst qualities usually come out, I get short with people. I, just
yeah,
kind of, just frustrated mainly.
Yeah. Yeah, these are both very frustrating for different reasons. How about Todd, for you? When we look at underutilized, man, I'm thinking of people on the call, and at times it's like, man, I've got so much more to offer, but I feel underutilized. If you've been underutilized, Todd, what has that been like for you, where you knew you had more to give, but maybe a leader was like squelching you out, or, it just wasn't being brought out? What did that feel like?
No, it's frustrating. It really drains my energy. I like to do the things that I feel like I add the most value to, and when I'm pulled in too many directions and I'm not able to focus on places where I feel like I make the most impact, it really, really affects me and my energy that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. Good tracking. Yeah. And I'm sure all of you that are listening, you can come up with 10 different things. Feel free to interact on the chat or keep this conversation live. Let's think positively, right? What is it when you see these word pairings here? We've got fully engaged and continuously renewed. And I want you to think honestly. So I don't know, Meredith, if you're available too, I'd love your thoughts on this one. If not, I'll go back to Brandon. But what does it feel like when you are fully engaged and continuously renewed?
For me, it's kind of like what Spy was saying on the opposite end, is kind of that endless amount of energy to feel utilized, and it really taps into my purpose, and so that's what I would say.
Boom. Well, you nailed it, not surprisingly, with your insights and your depth. Purpose is unleashed in us. Man, you talk about endless energy. I think some people look at this and you're like, yeah, Brian, nice try. I got to do the dials. I've got to set my appointments. I've got to do this. I got to manage multiple verticals in my business. I got to do all this stuff. This is not attainable, right? I mean, let's just say the elephant. Some people are looking at this going like, man, I don't think I can be fully engaged and continuously renewed. So Casey, what would you say to that person who's looking at this going, yeah, nice try, Brian, but I don't think I can do this. I don't think it's possible to do this in Symmetry.
I don't know. I would say, I don't know where you're going to find that if you can't find it here at this moment in time where we are. If there's ever a time to be fully engaged, it's right now. And we always say that with what we do, like, man, think about what we get to do with our jobs, the impact we can make in people's lives with the products that we sell and with the agents we're able to help. I mean, like I said, if you can't find it here, where are you going to get it?
Man, you guys, now Meredith, if this was a microphone, I would drop it twice now. I mean, that's like, boom. I mean, how powerful is that? Just to think about, we think the grass is greener somewhere else and we're going to go find it somewhere else. And what we find somewhere else is ourself. And Brandon, what would you say to that? Because I'm playing provocateur a little bit, but these are positive things. That's what we're going to talk about the whole time, is positively. What does this look like? How do you get it? What would you say to that person that's like, that's not attainable here?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Casey. It's like, if it's not attainable here, then you probably need to put some serious kind of work into yourself. And I think make that commitment to getting there and getting to work on yourself. I listened to a wonderful podcast this earlier this week, Brian. It was the Happiness Lab. It was one of those episodes. I listen to them all the time, and it was basically about exactly what you're talking about. And she was interviewing a guy that was in pest control, and they say that notoriously pest control is the least engaging and the most depressing job that you can have. But she interviewed this guy, and he didn't feel that way at all. And it was all about kind of framing or reframing the work itself and how it can have an impact on you. And he, spoke to that and said, I don't feel like I'm trying to remove rats from people's kitchens. I feel like I'm trying to solve a very important problem for people, and this is a very urgent issue. So basically he's reframed the work not as I have to, but I get to, right? And I get to make an impact. And I think that's what I would tell everybody or anybody that had that feeling here is maybe some reframing is needed, because this is, you get to make a pretty large impact on people's lives here. And that is one of the most rewarding things I think that anybody can ask for out of a career.
It's so good. Well, excellent segue into the first of the three. We're kind of going in 3, 2, 1 order on this. The first one I think is just foundational, number one, but so hang in there for that. But the 3 things fully engaged agents have, right? If all the business results that we want to see, it's going to take being fully engaged and continually renewed, accessing that endless energy that can come out for tasks and for results. So here's what 3 things fully engaged agents have. The number 3, we'll go 3, 2, 1. Number 3 is this: fully engaged agents, they've learned to love the work that they do. It's the rat principle, exactly what you just said, Brandon. Somehow they've learned to love the work that they do. So they have a love for the work. Now, how do you know if you love the work? We could have written 50 things on this, and I want to talk this through with you guys as well, to brainstorm some more things, because I just put some concrete things. Number one, I take initiative in communication and I ask what's next, right? What's the next thing in front of me that I need to be doing? What that's a sign of is that you're engaged in the work to the point where you've managed your calendar, your time, such that you have white space to be ready for the next thing. Like you've accomplished the things in front of you because you've been immersed into that work. So that would be a sign that you love the work. Number 2, you're responsive and follow through with clients immediately. Like you're on top of it. You are engaged. You're not letting things out there for a long period of time and leaving that person hanging, because man, the stakes in those moments are so high for actually helping families and seeing results in your business. Number 3, I pay attention to my activity report and scorecard. It's kind of a hard side of the business metric, but when you love the work that you do, you've got to pay attention. We'll talk in a few minutes about how do you learn to do this. It's about paying attention, a little preview there. But you actually enjoy kind of getting under the hood, finding out what's going on, staying on top of your business. It's one of the things fully engaged agents do. They love the work that they do. So, Brandon, let me start with you on this one and just ask, sometimes as people are processing the work that's at hand, it's harder to love. And you talked about that reframing. Any other thoughts in Symmetry specifically about how people can come to love the work that they do here? I think you guys make that really accessible in a lot of ways, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a really good question. How do you love being on the phone, or how do you enjoy being on the phone when you've convinced yourself that you hate being on the phone, right? I think it's about reframing. It's a step in the process. I think, a lot of times people may be focused on the wrong thing. If they're focused on, that they dislike the activity, again, maybe they're not focused enough on the impact that activity will create, right? The value that they're actually adding. And I tell people all the time that I didn't realize how important my job was until I had to deliver that first death benefit check. And it's not something that you want anybody to ever have to do. But I think once you understand just how important what your job really is, then, it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to, you don't have to push yourself to get through it. I never felt that way, Casey. I mean, I think there were certainly at times, obviously things that I would rather have been doing. But I always had several pictures on my desk of my family, my kids, and realized that if I didn't come home, that what would that be like for my kids growing up without a father, or for my wife, raising kids without a husband. So I think, again, it kind of goes back to reframing, and it goes back to just understanding the importance. Now, I mean, I do think that everybody's got to do dials, and we're stuck on dials, but if I hated it, or if you do hate it, you still have to find a way to do it. Now, maybe that means that I can hire someone to book the appointments. Maybe I'm better at connecting or engaging when I'm in the home or on the phone, but I don't know, man. I feel like it's a reframing issue.
Great. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Casey, Meredith, others?
I had to reframe that. Again, I think that's what Brandon is saying is right on. With dials, for me, when I started to feel like I wasn't loving it, I had to really just analyze why, and maybe a fear of rejection kind of came up for me, and that feeling you get when you get told no and you got to move to the next. And I just kind of came up with a simple math equation that helped me fight that, which was I took my weekly income, which was, call it 2,000 a week, and divide that by my 200 dials or 250 dials that week. And I learned that every single dial I made, I was worth $10 or $12. Every single contact was worth $40. Even if they said, go to hell, get lost, it was $40. And so it's a reframing of that, and kind of attaching it to, it's not about rejection. It's about just kind of the more no's I get, the more yeses I get, and there's dollars in those no's.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example. Just real quick, a couple more thoughts here. So, I mean, how do you learn to love your work? You guys are both spot on. Of course, research tells us actually, like, paying attention to detail, paying attention. You guys have talked a lot about that and Thrive also in different ways, but it applies to the business. The more attention you have on what you're doing, the more you're going to actually like it, the more you're going to remember it and enjoy it. For all the intuitive personalities out there, the pioneers, connectors, and creatives, if you speak 5 voices language, right? You see this and you're like, really? Paying attention to details is actually going to help me like it? And the answer is yes. I mean, Casey, that's a great example practically of connecting those dots in those moments. And I can think of leader after leader in Symmetry who does this, who they connect the dots of what does this moment mean right here to the greater, outcome? What is this, you guys, I think overall, the cause, the purpose elements, all sorts of ways to put reminders in of what's at stake, what we're really doing in the business. So.
Yeah, I really like that. It's like, I think most people dislike it initially. And I know, again, we're stuck kind of on the phone. It's one of the most important activities, right? But people, maybe they dislike it for exactly what you guys are talking about, Casey. You didn't feel like you were good at it. And so if I'm paying attention to detail, that means that I can see myself getting better. If I'm tracking numbers, if I'm listening to myself on the phone, if I'm engaging with an upline or a mentor, then the idea that I'm moving forward is engaging.
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, what happens, how do I know if I don't love the work? It's pretty simple. You're just going to withdraw. And another thought on that is sometimes we procrastinate the things that we don't love doing. And in that procrastination, it creates a dread of that thing that we just don't love doing. And we've turned that little, tiny little grasshopper into this giant, crazy Gila monster lizard thing. And it's just a grasshopper, right? But in that gap of procrastination, we've made this tiny little thing into such a big thing. We go to do it and we're like, oh, that's it. But that's what happens in withdrawal. It's maximum frustration through isolation. We plug away, we pull away, and we get to massive frustration in our isolation, and we just totally make this thing a much bigger deal than it is. So if we pay attention to detail, if we start to grow in the love for what we're doing, the result of that is we are going to be in flow. There's more to being in flow, but that really the big idea, if we can start paying attention to some of those things, man, we're going to be there. So that's one of the 3 markers. Let's just go on to the second one. We could weave that in as we go here. Number 2, not surprisingly, fully engaged agents have energy. I mean, this is probably one of those big E on the eye chart. You can't miss it things. But the reality is none of the others are going to happen if we don't have energy. And I think this certainly includes all the different kinds of energy: physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and spiritual energy. But let's just think for a few minutes together about energy and talk through this. How do I know if I have energy? Here's some examples. If you rest well, you're going to have energy. I know how to say no. Let's talk these through. Let me just pause on this one. I know how to say no, right? I think good sleep hygiene and saying no are 2 foundational leadership practices. The more we level up as a leader, the more we need to work from rest, not just rest from work, and the more we need to say no. Okay. Now, I want to hear from you guys on that. Casey, Brandon, Todd, whoever wants to respond first, just to think about saying no to things, because gosh, yes is not always the answer. So knowing how to say no, how does that resonate with you guys in terms of engagement and really having the energy for the tasks at hand?
It's been something I've had to learn very quickly, and something that Brandon and Casey and Meredith certainly warned me about before I started the position, about, knowing myself and knowing my heart, and I want to lift others up and I want to serve others. So I want to be everything to everybody. And if I continue to say yes to everything or every request that comes in to me, or to jump on a certain conference call, I figure out that even in the times that I can be in the place that I want to be, I don't have the energy to actually bring my full and best self to that event. And I feel like I've just let people down in that. So I've had to get really good at slowing down and taking some things off my calendar, even when my heart wants to be there.
Yeah, it's good.
I know for me, I had to figure out what I wanted to say yes to first. And for me, I had to really dig deep into my personal core values and what do I want to show up for. And I even remember this was a giant tool of like, are you being a liberator in all the quadrants, personally, in my family, in my community, and really identify for each of those levels what I wanted to say yes to there. And then the no's, being a nurturer first, and that people pleasing part of me, it helped, because then I knew if I was saying yes to something that wasn't in my core values, I was really saying no to the things that were what I wanted to say yes to. So that's kind of how it has helped me. And it's on that continuum, right? I mean, I still sometimes find myself saying yes more than I probably should. But to have that self-check and be like, hey, wait a minute, you're now overextended. I'm not sleeping as much as I want to. What do I need to do to get myself back into check? And having those rules.
Third mic drop moment, Meredith Ellison. He's 2 for 3. I mean, this is such a gift to really collaborate on this, because again, as a pioneer, I'm thinking about how easy it is to say no to people and stay in my lane. And you're like, well, first you got to say yes to yourself. That's so powerful in those 5 circles. Yeah. All right. I do have a question, and Casey, Brandon, maybe for you too. And then I'll go on. So I'm trying to think about an example or a scenario of where, what's a pattern that an agent could get into where you see them saying yes too much to things? Like what should people be saying no to at times? Where do you see that practically playing out? I would love your wisdom on that.
Well, we can stick with the phone example, right? I mean, I think agents have to have kind of non-negotiables, right? Like if I'm going to say yes to booking X amount of appointments, then I have to be in control of my calendar, right? And that means I can't take calls in to do this. I can't go out and maybe do something that's more fun with my family. Like, I'm in charge of my calendar. I've said yes to this because it's what I want to accomplish. It has to fit within these time frames. So I have to say no to everything that comes, anything else that comes up in that. For us, Meredith, it was 9 o'clock to noon on a Saturday morning. We said no to everything except calling and booking appointments. Anything else that came up during that time, wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't answer texts, wouldn't say yes to anything. So that was it. There was just some non-negotiables. And I think you see people, usually when it comes up, they just don't really have control of their calendar.
Yeah, and you can see how these connect, right? Because if you don't have number 3, a love for the work, then you're in that moment of 9 to noon in your example, and it's easier to say yes to that distractor to your focus if you don't have number 1 or 3. So yeah, any thoughts, Casey, practically from your perspective on that in terms of where you see at times like, hey, it'd be great if you said no a little bit more here, on the foundation of what Meredith said, of course, like yes to yourself. Yeah.
No, I love this subject too, because, what you led off with about energy is, as you level up as a leader, it's going to require that you very clearly have to understand how to manage your energy clock, that little energy meter on the upper right hand of your screen, like a little video game. I only have so much energy and I got to figure out how to manage that right. And so, especially maybe if you're kind of new to building, one of the tendencies is to, like, every agent that calls you to spend, 20, 30 minutes, an hour with each of them individually on maybe a aspect of the sales system, And so I had to learn to kind of say no to that, but transform that into more of a group setting where I can kind of accomplish that with 10 people maybe, or maybe there's a tool that I need to learn, like teach a man to fish versus like give him a fish. Maybe I need to say no to holding your hand through this and send you to a resource, protect my energy, but also create independence for you versus dependency on me, which helps me long-term protect my energy, and it sets the right example for them.
So good. So good. I love it. Protect. Yeah. If we play this out, you guys already did a good job with this, but how do you know if you have energy? You own your calendar because you own it. I mean, we talk about that. We act like owners because we own it, but we got to own our calendar and really wrestle that thing down in WWE style, whatever it takes to actually follow through with it, right? So know yourself to lead yourself to your own 70-30. That's a language we've used here in Thrive, just that whole idea of energy management and paying attention to those things. I get asked that question a lot because it's funny, like when you're a leader, I think people assume that you're super, super busy, and it's likely true that we have full plates, but I get asked that a lot. People are like, man, you seem to just have a lot on your plate. How do you do it? And the way I first answer that is I'll say good sleep hygiene and saying no. Like that's my counterintuitive first answer. I think you got to learn, how do you get energy? I mean, you got to have good sleep hygiene, exercise, good prioritization practices, and a good calendar. Key phrases, 4 words. If you hear nothing else today, this would be good 4 words to hear that you actually follow, right? Google Calendar is the bomb.com. It's the GOAT. It's great. I don't know if you use Outlook or whatever. I'm not sure what that is. I got a Mac and I use Google, but a good calendar that you actually follow. That's a thing that I just see so often, is the intention of following that block calendar, but not the action of following that calendar. And so, so important, because it's pretty easy to know if you don't have energy, you're just going to be exhausted. No mental energy, that's going to be foggy. And when there's mist up there in the head, there's going to be fog out there in your relationship with others, right? If that's foggy, you're going to create that kind of, I was driving through the mountains. We went down to South Carolina and on the way there from Michigan, and it was just like fog zone. I kind of like driving through that. I got my Waze app set to the Batman voice right now. It makes me feel all cool. I'm a huge Batman fan. But anyway, we don't want that in our lives. We don't want fogginess and mist. So we've got to have that energy, mental, physical, emotional energy. That's all about self-leadership. Otherwise, I think you can get burnout proof if you say no, get good energy practices, but that's on us.
I'm so glad you're hitting on, especially the sleep hygiene, the exercise. There are companies out there. Brad and I came from one that never talked about this kind of stuff, never talked about the importance of exercise. And it wasn't until we really started to do that and exercise on a daily basis that I would say, if there's anything that I've noticed in my life and career that has improved my mental health and energy levels, it's some sort of consistent routine of exercise. If you can find a piece of exercise that also allows your brain just to kind of zone out of everything else going on in business, all the better. But man, and you know, you work out enough, you put some exercise in, that sleep certainly comes easier too at night. But man, sometimes I think people just kind of write that off as it's, to me, it's one of the biggest things that's moving the needle for me.
I loved about, and I mentioned this on a call last week that Spivey was on, but you know, last week or a week and a half ago when the Lakers won it all, and they were interviewing LeBron at the end of the game. And I just thought it was such a great leadership point. And he was like, you know, all I can do is make myself available to my team. You know, that's all I can do. And I do that by working out. I do that by putting food in my body that gives me energy. I keep my mind in check because I owe them all my availability that I have to give. And I just was like, God, you know, whether you're a Lakers fan or not, or a LeBron fan or not, like, that's such a good point of just like understanding how connected I am to others, you know, and how I'm showing up affects my team. And that's all I can do. So I loved that part of where he was talking about that in his speech. So
no, it's so good because that's what engagement looks like. That's how I have control over how I engage, because I have control over how I show up. I'm rested, I'm focused. You know, I've said no to some things that aren't going to either allow me to rest, get energized, or stay focused. And I think, you know, Meredith, one of the things that you got really good at probably 2 or 3 years ago is saying no, like learning how, because people are always asking you, hey, can you be on this board, or can you do this, or can you do that? And I think one of the things that I would say is you need to come up for everybody out there listening. If it's hard for you to say no to things, come up with an easy way of saying no. And the easy way of saying no is, I'm going to have to look at my calendar. I'll get back with you on that. I tell you what, send me an email and I'll reply back to you. Because it's hard for some people to say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Spot, yeah.
No, I'm not available to do that. Right. So come up with an answer. Brian, will you please come do this, this, or this, or would you be a part of this board? We're only going to meet twice a month for a couple of hours. You know, I tell you what, send me an email on that. I'll look at my calendar, see what I can do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so good, guys. And I want to point out the third mic drop that Meredith said, which was that we should root for the Boston Celtics. That was the biggest thing that so go Celtics. Thank you, Meredith. I just want to highlight that. All right. No, you're spot on. Let's go the number one thing. I mean, all of these three are related. I just think this is just foundational. I think how do you get a love for the work that you do? I mean, energy is the ticket to the game. You got to have it. You know, so we learn to love the work that we do as a fully engaged agent. We have the energy to do the work that we love to do. Really, number one, fully engaged agents have commitment. Now, I'm going to go off on a little rant just for 1 minute, because here's the thing. I don't like when you start talking about commitment. It's like what you're about to hear, what you're prepping yourself for is be more committed, be more committed. I'm going to take you out and just like beat you over the head with be more committed. And I just have an aversion to that. I can't make you be more committed. No one on this call can make you be more committed. But everything you want is on the other side of engagement. And I think that foundation, let me say that first before I rant. The foundation of being fully engaged and continuously renewed is being committed, not just involved, right? So you may have heard this little analogy of the chicken and the pig, right? Hey, pig. We should open a restaurant. And the pig says, I'm not sure. What would we call it? The chicken says, ham and eggs. The pig is thinking, no, thanks. I'd be committed and you'd only be involved, right? So now the new version is, what if I'm committed too? I don't see how you could be. Well, I know we can open a lunch place called Wings and Ribs. And now the pig says, with both of us committed, I'm in, right? So commitment's funny. For me, I always think about when I had 4 majors and 4 semesters before I decided to pull my car over in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and walk into the recruiter's office that looked very similar to this. And I was just not focused. I was not in a good spot in life. Lots of challenges, lots of different life things that happened. And in one exchange, I went from being just curious or wondering, can I do this? Is this something that I should do? to being committed, which led to, you know, tons and tons of work and challenge and doing everything it took. But it started with a commitment to be committed, right? It started with that foundation of commitment. And when you're committed, everything else flows out of that. You'll do the energy management. You'll do the pay attention to detail. Here's what happens. Here's my little rant that I wrote out. When you're committed, you will become effective. And when you're effective, you feel valued. And when you're valued, you will have increased opportunities to make a difference. And when you make a difference, you become significant. And when you're significant, you're going to have purpose. And when you have purpose, you're going to do more. And when you do more, out of the overflow of your commitment, you're going to birth crazy confidence in yourself. And when you're confident, you are going to stick to it. And then you're going to see crazy results. That's why commitment, not commitment for the sake of be more committed and just do stuff. I mean, that's silly. We want to be more committed because everything we want is on the other side of that. And I think here, just some basics, guys. How do you know if you're committed? You know, we're here today. This is a huge part of us rallying together as an organization. We're part of the national calls. And I wrote a phrase, Brandon, maybe you can talk about this. Other calls is directed by my agency. I mean, there's a lot of calls. I'm going to run into the, you know, Marines run into conflict here. So like, I'm a new agent or I'm an agent. I'm told to be on this call, that call. What's the balance there? I mean, obviously we want to be committed to calls. Like, is that something I can ever say no to? Talk to me about calls, because that's a big part of what fuels us in development in our business. Any thoughts there?
Well, I think it's part of showing up.
Yeah.
Right. Like the most important thing you can do to kind of grow your level of commitment is just start by committing to showing up. I can be on a webinar. Now, if my upline's my upline manager has a call, then their manager has a call and I'm expected to be on that. Then their manager has a call and I'm expected to be on that. Then their manager has a call and I'm expected to be on that. We probably need to have a conversation with somebody going up the line that says, we're going to have to prioritize some things, right? Because I can't be on 27 calls a week. So I think it's about, you know, agency owners kind of understanding how to talk about what the most important calls are. If that's an issue people are facing, then we'd like to hear about it. But I don't think that's really what's going on. I think really what we're talking about is, you know, how do I show up? I think a lot of times our agency or our builders will recruit someone and then they'll get really frustrated at someone because their level of commitment is not matching their own, right? Mm-hmm. And I think our job as leaders is we have to put people in a position to where they can kind of grow to the point where we find ourselves, right? And I think one of the easiest things to do if I'm an agency owner, if I'm a builder, is how can I get you to just be committed to showing up for the most important things? If it's a meeting, if it's a couple of calls, 3 calls a week, webinars now, whatever it is, if it's a one-on-one calls, right? To me, that's where it starts.
It's great. It's really good. And I'm seeing some stuff in the Q&A, by the way, about people wanting my rant. I'll be happy to share that wherever, and you guys can copy that and rant away with me. It's a positive rant. So happy to share that.
Positive rants. Those are good.
I'm ranty. I even got some rap skills coming from New Jersey. I really do. I've never been put on the spot yet, but I'm happy to be.
I can see
all right. Yeah, thank you. All right. So, you know, basic things here, guys. I'm going to go through all these. Just taking responsibility for your business. That's on you. that flows out of commitment. Actively taking responsibility to have conversations with potential new agents. You know, recruiting's a lifestyle, right? I'm just all over just having those conversations with people, sharing the opportunity, sharing the vision, engaged in my personal development, right? So I think the how do you get it? How do you really improve your commitment? Tons of things we could say, but within the Symmetry framework, I go, man, if you stay in alignment with the Symmetry vision and system, so much of your commitment is going to be fueled and defined by that in a positive way. Like everything that we're doing is trying to make it easier for you to be successful in your business. It's not trying to add complexity and add time. That's the last thing we would want to do, right? We want to make it as simple and frictionless as possible for you to be successful. So if you align to that, I think more and more you're going to find yourself growing in commitment. If you don't have it, here's the danger. Now we're into like the creatives are going to roll with me on this because this is deep right here. If you don't have commitment, you know what the opposite is? The opposite is cynicism. It's like datedness. It's like I live in a cynicism that sees self-initiative, like me going above and beyond, me being more committed, as pointless, because in the end, it's just not going to pay off. Oh, it's not fair, you know, whatever the case is. And that's a sign of burnout, actually. And burnout can't exist in the presence of commitment. Really, that's why I'm not, what's the best metaphor here? Like pie in the sky, unicorn, rainbow, mystical, like believing crazy things can happen with no work or anything like that. But I will tell you that I do believe you don't have to burn out. I think if you manage your energy well, you're committed, you say no, you can actually really thrive. Now, by the way, that also isn't something I'm hearing about like, oh man, tons of people are tapping out because they're tired. It's just good to be aware of that commitment is a foundation that just makes that not even a possibility. So I bet if you look at high performers in this business and talk to them personally, what you're going to find out is, because you're thinking, man, how can they perform at that level consistently? How can they get those results consistently? And in your mind, you're saying it has to be more work. Like they're doing that much work and I have to match that with that much work. And that's a work harder, not smarter mentality. What these people are doing is working smarter. They're saying no, they're resting. You'd be surprised to find out how they're actually achieving that. So any thoughts there, guys, on the commitment piece?
I mean, I think
that's a mic drop, dude.
Yeah, it's dead on. You know, what are some examples of really what we're talking about? Casey, what does working smarter mean? You know, if you're an agent, maybe it means that you're getting more leads, or you're asking more questions in the homes to get referrals, or you're doing smarter things to put yourself in front of more people so that you have a chance to win, right? It's like, what do they call it? The A's bean ball, or Billy bean ball, right? It's like, how do I get on base more? If I'm an agent, if I want to sell more, if I want to score more runs, and it starts with, I need to have more people to see. I have more people to see because I have more leads, or I have more client follow up, or I have more market referral type business, like all of those things, right? That's what you mean by how am I working smarter as a builder? What are some things, Casey? Like how can you work smarter?
Yeah.
One of the things that you and I used to always do is we try to really block out time for specific communication instead of waiting for things to come to you. You line up a call every single week with your leaders or even individuals so you can talk specifically about things that are going to happen, right? You know, how are you investing it all comes down to how are you investing your time or your money?
Yeah.
Both of those things.
Yeah.
I was going to jump on that one about on the builder side is, you know, simple tools to manage the metrics of your business. And we're working a lot with scorecards nowadays, and was just on this morning with some folks on scorecard and actually making it really simple to just track the trends of your business. And I think that saves a lot of pain in the end, you know, just right in the moment, as much as you can pay attention to those details and where am I at, making connections between results and activities, because you really can't control outcomes. You can only control activities that lead to outcomes. So you got to pay attention to your activity report. You got to pay attention to your scorecard. And at the end of the day, that's an understanding that helps you be fully engaged.
Yeah, it's knowing the data, knowing your numbers, right? I think Sarah Pappas said it last week, knowing the problem is 50% of solving it, right? You can't a lot of times even know that there's a problem if you're not actually studying it and looking at the data, looking at the numbers.
So good. Yeah. So I guess my final thought for today would be just think through those three areas. And, you know, one of them may stand out to you, you know, so fully engaged agents have a love for the work. You know, do you need to pay attention to the details of your business right now? Do you need to be more fully present with your work and really get some time to work on the business? Do you just need to, the second one of energy, do you need to actually, you know, continue to fight for good sleep hygiene? Do you need to get that exercise rhythm? I'm working this morning right now. I got on the treadmill and I'm watching The Sopranos. This is horrible with my mom's maiden name being Campanozzi. I'm watching The Sopranos for the first time, but that's my little exercise treadmill time, watching Tony and you know, his ducks and all that stuff. But it can be fun, right? It can be fun. So is that the one for you? You got to like, man, I'm going to take an action step today on that. Or is it the final one, just commitment? I think a commitment is a foundational decision. It's something you decide and then you do all the work after that. It flows out of that. So are you just involved and you need to be committed? And what are the things, if you're cynical, how do you unwind that and just really jump in and find yourself in a good place? So would love for you on the call just to take one thing away, apply it to your business, and keep these conversations live in your agencies over the next month and see what comes of that.
It's good stuff.
What a call.
Yeah, thanks.
Brandon, I know you guys got a ton of great feedback last week. My phone was even blowing up being out of town with what y'all did. But man, I haven't seen this many awesome comments about what you just laid out for us, Brian, is in a while. So
I'm going to have to take your advice here, Brian, and say no to a bunch of replies because I got about 50 text messages already.
Love it.
Great work.
Just a little taste of what's to come over the next 90 days, though.
Yep. We'll be laying it out for the directs. We'll be having agency owner calls. We'll be having builder calls. And many of you will continue having your one-on-one calls with Brian. So really looking forward to what's to come, buddy.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Excited.
I have also not seen Sopranos, so I will start.
No spoilers.
Well, it's more wrong. It's more wrong for me being from Jersey and having my mom's maiden name be Campanozzi and having had an Uncle Vito. I had an Uncle Vito and I've never watched The Sopranos. Wrong in every way. Just wrong.
Well, it's a good tip though.
Yeah, that's right.
Good tip for exercising. It gets cold outside. Those of you that are in cold weather, time to get on that treadmill, go get you a bike, make a commitment to yourself over the next 90 days.
Yep.
Go into the new year looking great. Maybe Sopranos. Yep. Brian, thank you, buddy.
Thank you all.
Meredith Casey, Spivey, Phil Robertson, everybody else that was on the call. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Have a good week, guys. See ya.
Peace.